it's it's a shake your head kind of Friday morning is all I can tell you. It's not supposed it's not supposed to be Monday on Friday, but anyway, we're gonna rock and roll through everything. I look down and it says, thank you. I'm like, we hadn't even started yet, so. Um, and I get a nice picture from you this morning, so we won't go into detail about that. So, anyway, happy Friday to everybody.
Good morning.
Hope everybody's Friday's off to a roaring start like mine is this morning. So, but we're glad to have you here. It is Iron Bowl Eve in the basketball world for us, and man, we got a lot to talk about here this morning. Faith, always good to see you with Al Pacino in the background. So.
Boys.
The boys stuff. But anyway, our program brought to you by Sensagreen for air that's cool and clean. Call on Sensagreen, the carrier experts here in the state of Alabama. They are a proud supporter of Auburn athletics as well, and we're glad they support the Auburn Blitz podcast and saving you thousands of dollars on installation of a new unit. And if you need your unit replaced, they're the people to call on. Sensagreen, make sure you give them a call. Scout Program Management, a full-service construction management firm in the city of Birmingham, but they serve all over pretty much the Southeast, and nobody does it better than them, taking you from the start of your project all the way to the finished product when you get the keys to the building. Can't do it better than Scout Program Management. And then Bunkers, Faith and I would go there 5 days a week if we could, and that would not be smart on our part. Because we need to lay off the great food every once in a while. They've got unbelievable food and an unbelievable atmosphere at Bunkers, and plenty of places to park downtown. You don't have to worry about that. So go check out Bunkers on West Glen there in downtown Auburn. Faith and I will be over at Pepper Tree Steaks and Wine next Friday. Right before the Georgia game, we'll have Coach Pruitt join us at Pepper Tree Steaks and Wine, along with Coach Kleinert, Auburn head golf coach. And so we're excited about having both of them back with us on next Friday, a week from today. So it is Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, Faith.
Happy Valentine's Day, Brett.
So here we are. Everybody watching. So all you guys out there, I hope you took care of your business and you're taking care of your spouse or your girlfriend or your fiance or whatever. If you don't, probably going to not be a very good Friday for you. So anyway, Faith, getting a rip-roaring start here on a Friday. Auburn and Alabama, Coach Pearl, we're going to dive into what he said about this game. I'll start with the epic matchup of 1 versus 2, the first time in SEC history. But it's like Coach Pearl said, it's not the first time this has ever happened. It happened 17 plus years ago, I believe, in Tennessee when he was coaching it at Tennessee against Memphis, and John Calipari was at Memphis. And he bragged about how that was kind of the mindset of those two coaches back then, is to improve their programs to the point where they would be the center of the college basketball world, and both of them did that. John Calipari did a great job at Memphis, and obviously Bruce Pearl took Tennessee to heights they'd never been before, and it was a 1-2 matchup, and Tennessee won that game. And I hope Bruce Pearl has the same fortune on Saturday if he can come out with a win against Alabama. But it just tells you that you would look up and you would think, in this league, like he said, and I think you and I talked about this several days ago, if you'd have had a 1-2 matchup in this league in the past, it would have been Kentucky, and then who else? It would have all automatically in everybody's mind said, well, Kentucky would have been one of the teams, who would have been the other? But it never happened. And, that's not a slide on Kentucky, because they've been number one a boatload of times over the last 50, 60, 70 years. It's the rest of us in this league that haven't done our part to be consistent with them, to give them a 1-2 matchup in the regular season. But I'm proud that it's here in the state of Alabama. I know Alabama hates us, and we hate Alabama, but you know what? The spotlight will be on this state on Saturday with the matchup of these two teams.
For sure, it's a great state, not just for football, but for Alabama or for basketball too. And I think it's gonna be a great game, whether or not. I mean, hopefully we don't go in there and start off slow or anything like that, but
I think it's going to be a game of ebbs and flows. I don't think it matters.
absolutely.
Look, you want to get off to a good start, but I don't think that matters because we've gotten off to a good start against Florida, and we've gotten off to a good start against Vanderbilt. And the Florida game didn't end well, and Vanderbilt came back and took the lead. So you can't, even if you get out to a good start and build a lead,
It doesn't even matter anymore.
It doesn't. It doesn't. So you've got to be prepared to play 40 minutes. That's what Coach Pearl was talking about. And when you look at since 17 and 18, and Coach Pearl, again, going through and quoting him in the press conference yesterday, since this is amazing. And I knew it, I guess we just get caught up in the moment and what these two programs have done. But since the 17-18 basketball season, Faith, Auburn and Alabama combined have won 8 SEC titles. There's not a lot of room for anybody else to win anything. When you look at where we are going into this season and just the last several years, whether it be a tournament championship or a regular season championship or a combination of both, the center of the basketball world in the SEC runs through the state. It has been for several years now. This is not a fluke. Nate Oates being hired by Alabama took their program to another level. Obviously, Bruce Pearl has taken Auburn to a level it's never been before and has sustained that here where a lot of people said that you couldn't do that here at Auburn. Well, he proved otherwise. It took him 4 years to get us to where we could compete. But once he got us to this point, Faith, we are a national power in basketball, and Auburn and Alabama, only two teams have been to the Final Four here in the last several years for the SEC too.
Yeah. And there's obviously history between the two teams right now with Aiden Holloway over at Alabama, who has been at Auburn. And Denver Jones was talking about how if Auburn was, I guess, nervous or whatever to go over there and play against, his former teammate or their former teammate. And his response was kind of just, no, like we're happy to see that he's doing well over there and performing well, but he said it will be fun. It will be a fun game to play against him. We know a little bit how he plays just because he's been on the team and we've played against each other. But Denver was saying it'll be a good matchup, against him. And so I think that's also something to really look forward to.
Let's put things in perspective. From a fan standpoint, in the media, they try to build up storylines like this, and it is a storyline. Aiden Holloway transferred from Auburn to Alabama, and anytime you get that in basketball, football, baseball, checkers, whatever, it's going to be a headline. But you got to remember, Aiden Holloway was recruited and signed with Auburn, played a year at Auburn, built friendships at Auburn, was not a problem at Auburn, still got a lot of friends on this team. Coach Pearl talked about it. I want to bounce around for just a second, come back to this Aiden Holloway. I just think Coach Pearl, and I didn't see Nate Oates' pregame presser of this game, but if anybody ever handles a press conference any better than Bruce Pearl, somebody show it to me with class and with dignity and praise for the other opponent and praise for the play. Look, reporters and media, they love to try to bait a coach into saying something. And they asked him about LeBaron Philon and Aiden Holloway. And Faith, he answered it about as good as anybody could answer it. He said, look.
Flawlessly.
Yeah, he did. He said, look, those are two guys that we wanted here. Aiden was here. We offered LeBaron Philon a scholarship. He said he briefly accepted it. Then he decommitted. He said, know those two kids very well. He said it obviously has worked out for them. He said, but it's worked out for us too. And he said, I wish nothing but the best for both of them. And he said, have nothing but praise for Aiden Holloway. And he's never said anything but great things about Aiden Holloway. He coached that kid for a whole year. He brought him into his program. He built friendships here. Us as fans and media, we try to build this thing up. And, they're going to compete hard Saturday, but he's still got friends on Auburn, and they probably understand you got to do what you got to do. And
business is business.
It really is. Now, that doesn't change the level of hate the fans are going to have for Aiden Holloway when he rolls into Auburn on March the 8th, because it's going to be terrible. I mean, I'm not trying to rosy up this thing. It's not going to be a fun place for him to return to, because they do feel like they were stabbed in the back. They do feel like he's a traitor, and that's in their minds, and that's what people have determined, and that's what they're going to go with. But what Bruce Pearl did as a coach would be exactly what you'd expect. And he gave him nothing but praise and was proud of how he has been playing at Alabama. And, of course, a professional wouldn't get on there and bash a kid. He's not going to say anything derogatory about that.
But I think he means every word he says. He's not just saying it to please people. And I genuinely think Bruce Pearl is that nice and class act of a man that he is fully meaning that he wants the best for.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I don't think anything that comes out of his mouth isn't genuine. 100%. We got the picture of Coach Pearl stopping and praying with the lady at the Vanderbilt game and the family, and found out a little bit of the backstory about that. I mean, it's things like that, again, he's not doing that for a camera. He's doing it because, he truly cares about that. I mean, you look at how passionate he is about the situation in the Middle East, and he knows, and he said it a bunch of times. He said, I know I'm probably going to catch flack and people are going to attack me for the things, but these are my people, and I'm going to tweet about it. I'm going to wear a pin to show my support. I'll do whatever I've got to do. He's traveled to Congress to support that cause. I mean, the guy's just passionate. I mean, he's passionate about the Outlive program that he started here to fight cancer, to bring awareness to people to get checked early. We had him on our show a few weeks ago, and he talked about it. And I wanted to make a point to talk about that with him, because that is so near and dear to his heart. And anytime you get him on an interview, you just want to jump right into the X's and O's of basketball and talk about your record and all this kind of stuff. But he spends a lot of time up here in my neck of the woods at Lake Martin, and I see him all the time, whether it be at Willow Point, whether it be on the lake, or whether it be at a golf tournament or something like that. And he's always trying to do something to help somebody else. And he doesn't ever come across like you're invading his personal territory, or he's trying to blow you off and he doesn't have time for you. He'll stop and just spend, 10, 15, 20 minutes talking to you. Whereas most people would try to just speak and move on. But just wanted to say that thought he handled that really well. I didn't expect him to handle it any other way. That's just kind of the person he is. And I think we're so blessed to have a coach like Bruce Pearl here at Auburn. And I hope he coaches 10 more years here, 15 more years if he can do it. But he's done a tremendous job. And
so is his son. His son, Stephen Pearl, has absolutely followed in his father's footsteps. He's a classy guy, very well spoken, and I mean, I'm sure it's not hard, or I'm sure it's hard to coach with your son. I could not imagine my father and my brother coaching the same team together, but I think they mesh so well together and they gel. And, I really think you can see Bruce in Stephen a little bit.
Oh, there's no doubt. And you can tell that the intensity, and not to say Bruce Pearl still as intense as anybody, but you can almost see Bruce Pearl 15, 20 years ago being what Stephen Pearl is right now. And this staff, I think Bruce Pearl has said it so many times, and as many times as he can in front of a camera, that he can't do this by himself, that he has a phenomenal staff. You go down the line, and Coach Pruitt, who will be on with us next Friday, Burgermeister, Marquise Daniels, Ira Bowman, Stephen Pearl, other guys that I'm not, listing on here, but that in the nutshell of each one of them having a responsibility to prepare the team every week or every time they get ready for an opponent. Everybody's got a role. And you've heard about Ira Bowman spending hours in the gym developing Chaney Johnson into the player he is right now. And Chaney Johnson putting the work in to get to this point and being a completely different player than he was last year. So, but I think you go back and you look over some of these quotes and you see what Auburn has done and what Alabama has done, to give credit to them as well, because it takes two to get a 1-2 matchup, Faith, and both teams really one's number one in the coaches poll, one is number one in the AP poll, and the other one is 2 in the other. So it's a matchup nobody really ever envisioned. It's in Tuscaloosa, and we'll get our shot in March to have them here, but you'll want to win this game. And you heard Coach Pearl talk about it. If you could tell me right now we would be in a one-possession game at the very end of the season, in the end of this game, you take it right now. You want to do everything you can to get it to that point anytime you're on the road. And Faith, I look at it, he said it the last couple of times we've been up there, we've been in a last possession game, and we haven't been able to pull it off. So going to have to guard the perimeter. I know we've said it all week, but it starts there. And Coach Pearl said it yesterday. When we're, not on our heels, when we're aggressive and, really understanding where the ball's going to go for the other team, and we're jumping passing lanes, and, we kind of know where we are. We're a really good basketball team, but when we're on our heels and we're a step behind, we can get in trouble. And we've seen that the last 2 weeks with Florida and, well, actually the last 2 games, Florida and Vanderbilt have had some shots uncontested outside, and they've made us pay for it. We will pay dearly tomorrow. This team loves to shoot the three, and they do a really good job at it. And if we're sluggish on defense outside, they could run away from us. Let's just be honest about it. It's going to be a crazy environment. They're streaky. So we have to contest those 3-point shots.
Absolutely. This is one of those games where you're hoping Miles Kelly's hot, Denver Jones, Chaney, Chad after Tuesday. It's gonna. I wouldn't be mad if Denver is not as hot outside the arc, but if his defense on against those guys that are shooting those threes, if his defense is hot on those, then give me that. I'll take that all day over him shooting the ball.
Got to shut him down.
Absolutely. The length again is going to be a good comparison for the both of us. But yeah, it's going to be a contact game. It's going to be a physical game. Bruce has talked about always just standing up vertical against the guys to try and prevent the fouls as best they can. But I do think with the size matchup that it will be, hopefully there will be less fouls, when people are trying to go up, because the size matchup is going to be near the same.
Coach Pearl talked about getting punished for getting to the offensive glass. He said they're going to try to punish them by getting to the offensive glass, and they know that Auburn wants to crash and get to the offensive glass. So, Auburn's got to make sure, and in transition game as well, we're going to start 2 centers, and Alabama's going to try to get the ball out and get it in break situations as much as they can. They're going to try to run Janai and Dylan up and down that floor and make them tired. So again, you don't see very many teams that start 2 centers anymore, but that's just the way we are. It's the way we're built. It's one of our strengths. And again, we've got to do a better job on the boards. You cannot give Alabama 2 and 3 and 4 opportunities on the offensive side. Grant Nelson, Mark Sears, Chris Youngblood, all of these guys, Aiden Holloway, those rebounds and those kickouts to the three that are probably going to be open when everybody's crashing the board, when we're trying to go to the glass, that's where you kind of get into a danger zone with Alabama. And you watch them and they just keep the ball active. You know, you may not come down with a rebound, but you're just tipping the ball constantly till somebody can get it, or maybe you slap it outside and you got those guards sitting around the 3-point line, and it doesn't take them very much time to grab and shoot. I mean, the ball's out of their hands very quickly. And, you know, you look at Mark Sears, he's going to try to attack inside. He's going to try to dribble drive down the lane, and he's going to be looking again to the corner, to Grant Nelson, to Youngblood, to Aiden Holloway, somebody set up to try to shoot a 3-pointer. So Auburn's going to have its hands full trying to guard all this stuff. So, again, it's going to require max effort for 40 minutes. Now, on the flip side, Alabama's going to have to do the same thing. You know, Alabama doesn't want us to get out in transition and get behind them as well. And we're really good at that. I mean, these teams are built similar. They both like to run. And the reason they like to run is they like to get back, try to steal baskets before the other team can get set defensively. So I think the line in the sand is going to be somewhere around 81 to 85 points. And I think, again, Auburn, if you look at the stat line, they're one of the best defensive teams in the country. Alabama's not as good defensively, but Alabama's one of the best, if not the best, offensive team in the country. So they average more points than us, but we do a better job on defense than them. So, hey, look, something's going to have to give Saturday, and I really think it's going to be the way Alabama shoots that three ball. If we can get to 10 made threes, Faith, and we can hold Alabama to the same amount, I love our chances. But if Alabama gets up in that 16, 17 made three range like they did the other night against Texas, we're going to be in trouble.
Absolutely, no doubt. The other thing is we can't be sloppy in the transition or when we've got a fast break or anything like that. There's been so many times where it feels like that's just where the ball is getting turned over, and because we're making sloppy passes, we're making lazy passes.
Right.
And with a team like Alabama, you can't do that at all. It's just one of those things where that's how we will lose the game if we're playing lazy and passing. I don't know what the whole bounce pass is that we're so obsessed with doing, but for me, that's where I've seen a lot of our turnovers come from, is when we're doing bounce passes.
You talk about it down on the block?
Yeah, I just in general, like we've been doing so many bounce passes, and I feel like that, and even you can hear the announcers say, I don't know why Auburn is doing a bounce pass right there. Because every time someone will come in and get it. Like, it's, I don't know.
Well, the rule of thumb on bouncing the ball is, first of all, if you're trying to post somebody up, that's not what you do. You try to get it above the head.
Right.
If the back's to the wall, if the back's to the basket, you try to lob it in if they're not fronted by somebody. Now,
Right.
again, a bounce pass is a good option a lot of times because it makes it tough on defenders to try to steal the ball, but it has to be a crisp, good pass. It can't be a lazy pass. So again,
maybe ours just haven't been so successful.
Well, I think it's about how you pass the ball, Faith. I think I'm fine with a bounce pass, but I think it has to do with, is the pass crisp? I mean, you can't be lazy with chest passing, lobs. You gotta be definitive about what you're doing. You cannot be second guessing yourself, and you can't get lazy with your passes. I think it comes down to being a little bit lazy and just saying, well, I'm just going to kind of flip this down inside, and then you're playing guys with length like Alabama that's going to be able to get their hands in the passing lane and knock it away. And we've seen that. So basically what you're saying is we've turned the ball over a lot more than we're used to, and we have. And when you look at Alabama scored over 100 points again on Texas the other night. But when you look at one of the things that was, again, there's silver linings and there's bad things in every performance. Alabama played great on the road. They made 17 threes on 29 attempts. They shot it at almost a 60% rate. But I'll tell you where they didn't do well: turnovers. They had 17 of them. And when you make threes the way they made them, it doesn't show. But if they're not hitting threes and they turn the ball over against us 17 times, it could be the other way around. And Auburn really turns teams over. And so that's what Auburn's going to try to do in this game Saturday. Really two things, Faith: protect the three-point line and try to turn Alabama over and see if you can steal possessions. I think that's how you get out of Coleman Coliseum with a win. And you can't get your rear end beat on the glass. And you can't give them 2 and 3 and 4 opportunities to make a basket. As many one and dones for them as possible. And then get out on transition and try to get down the floor and get your offense set. Jerron said we have to stay disciplined on defense and make the bunnies. We've been missing. Yeah, that drove me crazy the other night against Vanderbilt. I don't know how many layups or point-blank shots we missed, Faith. You and I were texting about that. You cannot do that in big games. And if we do that, that's going to be another thing that's going to be tough to overcome. If you're at the basket, figure out a way to draw the contact or put the ball in the hoop. I mean, that's really you can't afford to miss point-blank shots.
Yeah, no, I agree. No doubt there.
So looking at this game, I mean, again, this is the first of two. Whatever happens in this game, whether Auburn wins this game or if they lose it, you got to move on. You got to move on to the next opponent. There's not going to be a ton of time to celebrate or mourn a loss if you lose, because you turn right back around and you welcome in Arkansas coming into your place next Wednesday. And then you have Georgia next Saturday. Ole Miss comes in, and then you go on the road to Kentucky. And then you finish on the road at Texas A&M, and then you end up with Alabama at home. So we're about to go in this last third of the SEC schedule. It's hard to believe that we're 2/3 of the way through the schedule on Saturday. And then I will say this, though. A win Saturday puts Auburn in the driver's seat. And it makes it really tough on even Alabama at that point. They're going to have to probably not lose another game and be in a situation where they have to beat Auburn at home to maybe win the SEC. So it's right the opposite of that. If Alabama wins this game, they've got the edge. And then it's going to be probably one of those situations where Auburn can't afford to lose on the road at A&M or Kentucky. And then Auburn's got to beat them at home in March. So there is an advantage to winning the game. It doesn't mean the season's over. It doesn't really mean anything other than it kind of gives you an edge in the regular season, and it gives you some bragging rights, at least for a few weeks till you get back on the floor and play each other again. I mean, that really is what it boils down to.
Yeah, and we've got the next 3 games at home, so I don't know. It's not like it's not like we're in March and if we lose this game, and we've said that it feels like every single time. It's not like we're losing a game in March. It's not like we're losing a game, or if we lose, it's not like we're losing it in, the middle of
right.
Or like where it's going to cost us everything. But again, it would be a big deal if we did win it, just to keep us on the right path of where we're headed.
Well, you've played a great year. I mean, you've had a great season. And Glenn's right. SEC 1 and 2 seed spots are important. I mean, they are. We are the 1 and 2 seeds, and Tennessee's kind of falling off, but Florida's kind of waiting out there in the wings to try to snatch, one of those spots away. So Auburn and Alabama both have pressure on them. And it tells you about how good this league is. And I know we keep saying that over and over and over, but it's the truth. And we talked about Jay Billis saying this may be the best conference in college basketball history this particular year. And that's a mouthful. But there are, I mean, when you look at the standings in this league, Faith, how many do we have now? 9 teams ranked in the top 25. 9 teams. And then you've got Vanderbilt sitting there at 17-7, and you got Arkansas that is playing much better, and then you got a Georgia team that's going to have an argument to try to get in the tournament. I mean, this is a brutal league, and Florida and Texas A&M are right there knocking on the door. They're just 2 games behind both Auburn and Alabama at 8-3, and then Ole Miss is at 8-4. Again, we go back and look at Ole Miss and Missouri. Those are 2 really big wins for Auburn, one at home, one on the road. So in Tennessee, probably if you had to rate teams and kind of grade everybody right now, Tennessee would probably be having the most disappointing season. To take South Carolina out, I mean, it's hard to beat somebody that's 0-11. So I clearly think they win that award. But a team with expectations. Tennessee had expectations of being a 1 seed and maybe winning the SEC championship, and that ain't happening now. They're 3.5 games out of first. They're 7-5 in league play, and they ain't winning the league. They're 20-5 overall, but they've stumbled in SEC play. Florida, on the other hand, has maybe overachieved a little bit. They're 21-3, and they're 8-3 in the league. And you could probably put Texas A&M in that category too. I think Auburn and Alabama expected to be 1 in this league, and they both are 1 in this league with a third of the schedule left to play. So that's kind of my analysis. I think you could say Vanderbilt maybe is a surprise. They played a lot better than people expected. But the biggest turnaround team in the league is Missouri. They were sitting there where South Carolina is right now last year. They didn't win a single conference game, and there they are sitting 3 games out of first place with 6 games left to play. I mean, tip your hat.
Show me.
Well, they have.
Yeah.
And I just hope that carries over for Auburn in football. And I've got a little bit of football that I want to talk with you before we get off. And it kind of goes as we get ready for spring practice and all that. PJ said, I think this is going to be a really good game on Saturday. I think it's going to come down to the final buzzer on Saturday. I mean, I think that's all anybody can hope for. I don't think either one of those teams – well, I know Auburn is not expecting to go into somebody's place like Alabama's and blow them out. I think Alabama feels like if they can get the crowd on their side and get some momentum, they could try to stretch a lead out and have a comfortable lead coming down the stretch. But if you're Auburn, all you can hope is like what Bruce Pearl said, if you tell me right now it's going to come down to the final possession, I'll take it. One way or the other. We've got the lead, they've got the ball, we're trying to stop them, or they've got the lead, we've got the ball, and we're trying to score. You know, that's all you can ask for on the road when you're playing against somebody that's equal to you, and you're both the top programs in the country. So I think Glenn brings up a point, Faith, that I wanted to talk about too. I hope the refs stay out of the game to the level. Let them play the game. Make calls. Make the right calls, but don't start calling every single thing and killing the flow of the game and becoming the game. The best officiated games are the ones where you don't really say anything about the official.
Yeah, I was listening to something the other day and talking about going into the tournament that how are teams going to know what to expect when how inconsistent the reffing has been throughout the season. It has been so inconsistent, and it's what is okay and what is not okay has been up and down, and you're either getting a game where for the first 15 minutes of the first half, you're getting everything is allowed to fly, and then the rest of the game, it's like every single thing is a call, and it's a whistle, and it feels like they're in the bonus before there's any time. It's insane. And yes, the makeup calls are insane. The makeup
Well, all
calls,
that does is admit you missed a call. I mean, I hate
right.
it too. Yeah, I mean,
We saw that when I was here when we played Ole Miss. There were so many makeup calls, and then even against Florida there were.
well, truly, you don't make up a call, and the reason we call them makeups because they're trying to, they're trying to make amends for a bad call or a non-call, but that plays over, and all you do when you do a makeup call is you screw up another play. I mean, seriously.
And you're literally admitting that you're wrong.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, but two wrongs don't. We've known that since we were little kids, right? Two wrongs don't make a right. So if you miss a call, you miss. Hey, if you miss it, you miss it, and you move on. Here's the problem with SEC teams. They're conditioned to play physical, and in this league, I think the officiating allows the game to be a lot more physical than maybe some other conferences. And when you get in the tournament, you don't know where your officials are coming from. And I think SEC teams are used to playing that rock fight type style game we always talk about. And they get in the tournament, they get in foul trouble. And we saw it with Auburn against Yale. We've seen it with a bunch of teams over the years. But the SEC is conditioned to play physical. It's the brand of basketball we play. And the officiating kind of allows that to happen. But when you get in the tournament, you have to be able to adjust that. Look, that's part of playing tournament basketball is in the first 5 minutes of a game, filling out the official and filling out how they're going to allow you to play. And if you got to make an adjustment, you can't complain about it. But if they're calling ticky-tack fouls, then you have to go, okay, we can't go in there with our shoulder down, or we can't go in there and slap across the wrist. They're going to call everything that they think is a foul, and you'll put yourself in foul trouble, and you'll lose guys. So it's also part of the strategy of basketball, figuring out how an official crew is going to call that game. And that's on coaching, and that's one of the things that that you have to do as a coach is you have to analyze that and you have to relay it to your players. Glenn, go ahead.
No, I just think it's been so inconsistent all year that I would be confused. I'd be annoyed. I am annoyed watching it.
You're bringing up good points that it kind of from one half to the next this season. It could be a ticky-tack type, 20 minutes, and then it could be a hack-a-shack 20 minutes where you just get your arm broke and they don't call anything. So
sometimes it's not even the first 20 minutes. It's literally like the first 15 minutes of the first half, and then they've got the 5 minutes left, and half of the time I feel like we're not even going to get out of the game.
Right.
It's so yeah.
Well, I think Glenn brings up a point too, and Chaney's kind of the X factor here. He tends to get in foul trouble early, and Alabama's going to try to attack that, and how the officials call how he plays will be very interesting. We can't afford for Janai Broome or Dylan Cardwell or Chaney Johnson to get 2 fouls 5 minutes into the game. You just can't do that. I mean, it's going to put you in a really bad situation. I don't know what version of CBM we're going to see tomorrow. I think to me, that's an X factor.
I was reading something and they were talking about it was just a tweet, and it was like how Saturday is going to play out or whatever, and they put a few bullet points, and it was like Chaney's going to foul out within the first half. Chad Baker-Mazara is going to get a tech for laughing on the court, because that's just how some of the officiating has been and proven.
Look, I think the officials just have to understand going into this game, they got a lot of pressure on them too.
Yeah.
Just call it even and don't overlook. I was at a regional basketball tournament yesterday in Montgomery, and I was sitting next to the guy on press row that was in charge of the officials for that site. And I heard him talking to one of the younger officials before, and it was like he was coaching him up. He's a younger official, and he's like, look, don't be so quick with your whistle. Be sure of yourself. Know what you see, and it's okay to blow it a little bit later, but don't just think you see something and then blow the whistle. Don't be so quick to call every single little bitty thing because you're trying to keep the game reeled in and in control. I think the officials are going to be a little jumpy. They know it's going to be physical. They know that these two teams hate each other, and they're both number 1 and 2 in the country. I mean, they've got pressure too. I mean, there's 3 teams on the floor every time you go out there. The 2 teams playing the game and the officiating crew. And so they're going to be on edge a little bit too to try to rein things in. So we've got to play cool basketball. We can't do stupid stuff and try to entice them to call a technical or to make a call. You know, that's we got to help them too. And because we got to play smart basketball, because they're going to be looking for stuff, and they don't want to lose control of this game. They don't. The last thing they want is a brawl to break out, and it almost happened last time in Tuscaloosa, and it was because they didn't have control of the game. Faith, it kind of gotten loosey goosey, and guys were flying all over the floor, and tempers started flaring, and you had Wagyu try to step on Broom's hand, and then all hell broke loose after that. And unfortunately for us, we didn't handle it well, you know, and it sparked Alabama to make their run and end up winning the basketball game. So we weren't able to recover. So let's hope we learned some things from these past experiences.
Yeah, I agree. You said that great.
CBM, I don't get that very often, by the way, so I appreciate that. CBM has got to score some points, though. He's got he can't go missing like he did against Vanderbilt, and so it's one of those things you got to look at. All right, so kind of broken this game down every way that you can. I will say this. Guard play, we didn't talk about that today, but our guards, Miles Kelly, Denver Jones, Todd Pettiford, they're going to have a good afternoon shooting the basketball. We're going to have to generate points from there. And if we don't generate points, look, defense is great, but if we don't generate points from our guard position, we're done. I mean, I know that's a very basic statement, but Alabama predominantly gets their points from their guards, you know, and I thought Latrell Wrightsell going out early in the season would kill them, and it has not. All it has done is allowed Aiden Holloway to step into the role he's in, and he's playing outstanding basketball. So going to watch that element, going to watch the offensive glass, going to watch how we defend the perimeter, and you're going to watch how we get out on breaks. That's going to be your keys to the game, and if we can defend like we are used to defending, I like our chances. I mean, I think it will be good. So Glenn said, looking for an instant classic AU win, possible overtime. Man, that'd be crazy. Jeff said, do not change how you call from first half to second half. I think he's talking to the officials there. Don't change. Just, hey, look, if you're going to stick to one way, if they're going to call 48 fouls, then call 48 fouls. And I hope it's not that kind of game. But if you're going to allow them to play in one half and then not in another, don't do that. That's not what we want. So I don't think either team wants that. So just be consistent for 40 minutes. All right, a couple of our sponsors here, Faith, and then we'll close out with some football talk here. Sure Shot in Alexander City is your place for outdoor apparel. Anything that you're looking for hunting, they've got it. Shotguns, rifles. They sell and trade new and used firearms. Give them a call, 256-329-0080. I've already had a lot of people comment about Sure Shot that have already used Sure Shot or planning to go to Sure Shot. Turkey season's right around the corner. They've got all the ammo you need, all of the apparel you need. Make sure you check out Sure Shot there in Alexander City. Again, they've got the Browning 22s, and they're hard to find. And if you're looking for rare guns, Scott can hook you up. He can get something for you if you're looking for it. So make sure you call on Sure Shot for all your hunting needs out there and your handgun needs. Oliver Ross, and I can't say enough about Oliver Ross, a full-service bartending service. They can accommodate you for your party, whether it be a smaller party or a big function of 20,000 people, licensed and professional bartenders come to your site, and they provide the service. You will be very impressed, and your guests will be very impressed when you hire Oliver Ross to come out and handle your next party or get together. So appreciate them being part of the Auburn Blitz podcast here, Faith. And want to go back and finish up looking at Auburn going into the spring. And I just wanted to do a little bit of a reflection on where we are as a program. And if you look at recruiting rankings the last 4 years, Auburn has done, outside of Brian Harsin, since Hugh Freeze has been here, Auburn's done well. And Auburn's been able to do the things they need to do to get great players in here to rebuild this roster. On the flip side of that, because they had such a horrible coach in Brian Harsin and the tail end of Gus Malzahn's tenure, in the last 4 years, Auburn's tied for next to last in wins in SEC play at 22 and 26, along with Mississippi State. The only team that's worse than Auburn in SEC play is Vanderbilt, 15 and 33. And when you look at Georgia over that time frame, our rivals now, Georgia 46 and 2 and Alabama 41 and 7. I mean, they have doubled us up or more than doubled us up in wins in the last 4 years in SEC play. And then you got Ole Miss sitting there at third at 37 and 11. So, I mean, it is truly amazing to me that Auburn, and this maybe says even more, we give Hugh Freeze, some flack, about not being able to produce on the field yet. But what he has been able to do is convince players to come to Auburn in the midst of this horrific stretch that we've had in SEC play.
Yeah, no doubt. This is also going to be his first year with all of his recruiting and all of his guys. So hopefully, this will be the year for him at Auburn.
It's the year in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I mean, again, 4 consecutive seasons of a losing record. I mean, at some point in time, it's either going to work or it's not. Auburn's got a great roster. I don't think it's the best roster in the SEC, but it's probably a top 5 roster again in this league. Now you've got to start producing. You got to put results on the field, and that's the biggest thing. Auburn's off to a great start in the 26 class, and they're in on some really good players. I think the 26 class has an opportunity to be even better than the 25 class, Faith. But you know what the difference is going to be and whether they're going to be able to solidify those guys or not?
If we have a good season or not.
If we have a good season. That's exactly right. I'll give
and
it
don't go 3-3 in the first 6 games.
Like you predicted, right? So, yeah, I think it's I know we're going to talk about this on and off. But, I mean, going back to that schedule, when you got Oklahoma and Texas A&M on the road and then Georgia at home, that second 3-game stretch, you're going to have to win one of them.
You have to.
Oklahoma's not a world beater program. I told you this, Texas A&M is not anything special in my mind either. Even though it's at home, we've done well on the road over there. And then you got Georgia at home, and who knows what they're going to be doing this year. I mean, I think everybody feels they've taken a step back. So, can Auburn carry some momentum into that game, Faith? Could Auburn be on a let's look at it glass half full. Could they be on a 5-game winning streak with Georgia coming to Auburn? It's a whole different viewpoint at that point.
Hey, 2 years ago when Georgia was at home, I mean, that game was intense and tight up until the very last.
We'd have covered the best player in college football and not let him run wide open down the middle of the field, and Brock Bowers probably would have won the game.
100%.
I mean, all you got to do is at least go up there and chip him a little bit. I mean, he just ran off the line of scrimmage on that last drive 3 times wide open, and I don't think we touched him on any play. So, yeah, I mean, we Auburned 100% on that last drive against
definition
against Georgia. Yeah, we Auburn, hashtag Auburn.
And so same thing against Alabama when we played them that year.
But again, it's our – and I heard Hugh Freeze talk about that game, and again, getting a mindset of how to finish and win games and how to relearn a culture about instead of waiting for something bad to happen, you make something good happen. You got to instill that winning culture, and the only thing that does that is by winning games and figuring out how to finish games and building off of that. So, look, I am with that optimism creeping in again. I'm gonna stick with my Missouri show me state mentality, though. I got to see it first. But look, the first 3 games, even though Baylor's on the road, is very winnable. And then you have 2 games you should take care of at home, and then before you go on the road to Oklahoma. So got a lot of football to talk between now and then, Faith. We got spring coming up, so we're just kind of going ahead and throwing a little bit of a preview out there. I had to bring that up when you look at these SEC records. It just reemphasizes how bad our season's been. You don't need to talk about it, but when you see it on paper, it makes it even worse to me. So it's like, can we please get back to playing Auburn football and 8-4, 9-3, having a shot at getting into the playoffs.
Just a winning record.
Let's go beyond that, though. I don't want to be 7-6. I want to be 8-4, 9-3, and I think we've got the roster and the schedule to do it. And I'll just leave it at that. So, but you're right. That is a start.
Yeah.
One more win than you do loss is a better start. So,
one last thing from me, Brett. Do you have YouTube TV?
I don't. I did, but I don't anymore. So,
well, YouTube TV, I just was reading about they're getting rid of CBS
and Paramount.
Well, they're giving you like an $8 credit for Paramount.
Yeah, but how's that going to work out for people in March Madness?
That's literally what I was reading. A lot of the comments, and a lot of them are, TNT is going to be, having some of them on. But I just thought that that in case anybody didn't see that, everybody should know in case you want to find another TV provider, because
you better be finding it now. I don't think they're going to work that out. They're going to try to work it out
for my family. So thought I would.
Yeah, I was reading that last night as well, and there's some pissed off people, no doubt. So
you're looking at one of them. I haven't talked to my dad about it, but I know.
Well, it's called unsubscribe. That's how you do it.
Any recommendations of where we should go next with this?
I saw a lot of people talking about Fubo TV on the thread, and I don't know, that's one that I saw predominantly, and I know a lot of people had switched to YouTube TV, but yeah, there's not a lot of happy people right now. I mean, just a few weeks away from the tournament starting.
Yeah, we'll see, but just
we'll see how all that plays out. It won't play out good for YouTube, I can promise you. Not with sports fans. So, John, we appreciate it. Happy Valentine's Day, yes, sir. Glenn said freeze 100% on coin flip this year. We'll get small victories, right? John, just Google YouTube TV and CBS, and there'll be 8 billion articles that pop up, buddy. It won't be hard to find.
Mad people.
Will not be hard to find. All right. Faith, again, happy Valentine's Day. Hope you guys have a great weekend. We will be talking tomorrow, obviously, for the game. Can't wait. 3:00 tomorrow, Auburn and Alabama, the Iron Bowl of basketball. What else can you say? As we head out, I do want to thank Sensa Green again for air that is cool and clean, and the air got cool outside again. I was hoping that it would not, but it pretty much went on and dropped back down to cold last night. So had to run that heat again. So the carrier experts there for Sensa Green and proud supporters of Auburn Athletics and the Auburn Blitz podcast, Scout Program Management, our good buddies up there. So many projects that they have going on right now, school builds, renovations. If you're a school system, or you're in a school system, or you're looking at at planning, they're the ones to call. They take you from the start to the end. I've been around these guys a long time, and I don't know anybody that does it better for any construction project. They do an outstanding job. Bunkers on West Glen and Auburn, don't take our word for it. Go see Bunkers. Go eat there. Food is outstanding. Great place to go and hang out to watch the game tomorrow if you're looking for a place to go and hang out with your buddy. Sure Shot in Alexander City, your full service outdoor apparel and firearm provider here in the Lake Martin area. Make sure you go check them out. And if you're looking for somebody to come and cater and bartend at your party or function, Oliver Ross is the place to call on. They will take care of you all the way around. Faith, as always, is fun. I mean, you have a blast doing this. We're building this thing up. I had some good meetings yesterday with some people. Thought yesterday was very productive, and had a lot of laughs on the way as well, like we always do. And then we will be back with you on Monday for another edition of the Auburn Blitz podcast, and we hope it's a winning edition. Would be outstanding to do that. So either way, we're going to be here with you on Monday.
Absolutely.
Win, lose, draw, whatever. Meteor hitting, we're going to be here, God willing, right?
So, War Eagle.
All right, War Eagle, everybody. Have a good weekend.